I still remember that summer afternoon, the year after the GameCube came out. I was 12. My room was this strange mix of purple posters, tangled controller cables, and stacks of game magazines I couldn't afford to throw away. Everything smelled like warm plastic and dusty sunlight. Back then, DVD was the new magic word. Every commercial, every tech page, every friend at school was talking about how you can watch movies on your PlayStation 2. And there I was, clutching this tiny purple box with a handle. No DVD movies, no music CDs, just games. And I loved it, maybe more than I should have. It's funny. When you're 12, you don't think about hardware specs or storage capacity. You just think about that sound when you press the power button. That soft whoop as the cube spins to life. And suddenly, your whole world fits inside a glowing logo. My friends used their PS2s as DVD players. They'd watch Shrek or The Matrix on big living room screens, while I sat cross-legged on the floor in front of my old CRT TV, trying to rescue Luigi from a haunted mansion made of polygons and fog. And even though my console couldn't play movies, somehow it still told better stories. The GameCube wasn't trying to impress anyone. It didn't need to. It was small, a bit odd, with that cube shape that looked more like a lunchbox than a machine. But when you held it, it felt like a secret, like something made just for you, not for your parents, not for the tech magazines, you. Sometimes I think that's what made it special. Nintendo didn't chase trends. They didn't want their console to be a movie player or an entertainment hub. They wanted it to be pure, a little box of play. And I think that's why I connected with it so deeply. Because back then, I wasn't ready to be grown up either. I didn't need a console that could play movies. I needed one that could help me escape them. It's strange to look back now, at that time when everyone wanted their machines to do more, to be more. And there was Nintendo, quietly doing less, but doing it perfectly. In a world that was moving towards sleek black rectangles, mine was this cheerful purple cube with a green button that said simply, play. And somehow, that was enough. But outside that little purple bubble, the world was changing fast. Everywhere you looked, stores, magazines, friends, everyone was talking about DVDs. They were shiny, grown up, futuristic. The future didn't come in cartridges anymore. It came on silver discs that could play movies and hold real games. At least that's what people said. The PlayStation 2 wasn't just a console. It was a statement. It could play your games, your music, your favorite films, all in one sleek, serious-looking box. It looked like something your dad would buy. The GameCube, on the other hand, looked like something you'd take on a sleepover. And I think that's exactly why I loved it. While everyone else was growing up, switching from bright plastic toys to black electronics, Nintendo's world stayed full of color. It was purple and orange and full of joy. It didn't care about being the future. It cared about being fun. DVDs felt like adulthood, clean, organized, logical. The GameCube felt like childhood, messy, curious, alive. And between the two, I knew exactly where I wanted to stay. Because deep down, I didn't want a console that could play movies. I wanted one that could make me feel something again. And somehow, that little purple box did, without a single DVD inside. Back then, I didn't understand why my GameCube couldn't play movies. I just knew it didn't. And somehow, that felt right. Other consoles wanted to be everything. They were like those kids in school who suddenly start wearing sunglasses and saying they're too old for cartoons. Nintendo wasn't like that. Nintendo still wanted to play. When you're 12, you don't see licensing fees or hardware strategies. You just see that one console feels like a toy, and another feels like homework. And I remember thinking, why would I want my console to act like a DVD player? DVD players don't smile. They don't have Mario. They don't sound like a tiny orchestra when they start up. In a weird way, it felt like Nintendo was protecting me. Like they were saying, you don't have to grow up yet. Stay here a little longer. We'll keep the world bright for you. And maybe that's what it was all about. While everyone else was chasing realism, movie graphics, and darker tones, Nintendo built a console that still believed in color, in laughter, in imagination. I didn't know what corporate decisions meant, but I could feel it. That the GameCube wasn't trying to compete with adulthood. It was resisting it. And looking back now, maybe that's why it meant so much to me. Because at 12, surrounded by all that talk of DVDs and horror games and maturity, Nintendo was the only one that quietly whispered, it's okay to stay in the colorful world and not worry about the zombies from Resident Evil. Looking back, I think that's why the GameCube never needed DVDs. Because it already had something better, heart. Everything about it felt personal. The way it hummed when you turned it on, the way that little cube spun in the intro, even the click when you closed the lid. It all felt alive. It wasn't just a machine, it was a friend. My first game was Super Mario Sunshine, a birthday gift from my parents. I still remember how they smiled when I opened it. The box was bright blue, like a summer sky, and inside waited that tiny silver disc, glinting in the light. I didn't know it then, but that would become one of those memories that never fade. I must have spent whole weekends in that game, chasing shine sprites, listening to that tropical music through the crackling speakers of our old TV, and thinking, this is what happiness sounds like. Other kids had PlayStations that played movies. I had a GameCube that played Sunshine. And that's the thing. The GameCube never tried to be cool. It didn't dress in black. It didn't act serious. It came in purple with a handle, like a lunchbox for your imagination. It wasn't about power. It was about personality. A tiny cube that carried entire worlds inside it. Even today, when I hear that startup sound, that little cascading jingle, I get this lump in my throat. Because for a moment, I'm 12 again. Feet crossed on the carpet, controller in hand, and everything in life feels simple. Just light, color, and play. The GameCube didn't need to play movies, because the best stories it told were the ones I lived inside it. Sometimes I think about that choice, how Nintendo refused to follow everyone else, how they said no to DVDs, to the idea that a console had to be more than a console. Back then, I didn't realize how rare that was, to make something that didn't try to impress, only to delight. Because while everyone else was chasing realism, Nintendo gave us wonder. While others sold machines for grown-ups, Nintendo handed us a toy, and somehow it felt more real than anything else. That little purple box didn't care about being part of the future. It cared about being part of my childhood. And in a strange way, it still is. When I hold a GameCube disc today, that tiny silver circle, smaller than my palm, I can still feel the warmth of that summer light in my room. The hum of the fan, the click of the power button, a screen glowing to life. No movies, no menus, just magic. Maybe that's why I'll always love the GameCube, because it reminds me of a time when enough really was enough, when games didn't need to prove anything, when playing was its own reward. Nintendo didn't need DVDs to tell stories, because the best ones were already happening, right there on that old CRT screen, in a small purple world that still lives somewhere inside me. And maybe that's the real secret of it all. Nintendo never hated DVDs. They just believed that the best movies are the ones you play.